Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the mass rally that took place across the country following the continuous closure of tertiary institutions across the country. We also have interesting news stories for you. We will be right back.
After Tuesday's rally across the states, the Nigeria Labour Congress on Wednesday led the 4 unions and the universities to register their displeasure over the over 5-month-old strike. Security presence was visible following intelligence reports of a likely infiltration of the protest by some undesirable elements. From the Unity Fountain through the streets of Abuja to the Federal Secretariat and finally to the National Assembly, the message was clear.
The rally has shown that Nigerian people now realize what is happening. Nigerian workers, Nigerian parents, even Nigerian students have realized what's happening.
We've signed agreements, and in that agreement, there is a portion where it says that after every 3 years, we must renegotiate.
If you say OSAS is not good enough, how about U3PS? You say U3PS is not good enough, how about if they merge them and they become one?
We have insecurity, gender-based violence that is going on. Nobody is saying something. If you cannot govern, resign.
At the National Assembly, the leadership of the Parliament formally received a letter from the NLC detailing its demands.
We have a documented complaint that have captured all the issues we have stated and what we expect of the Parliament. If before now they have not looked at the issue as a serious issue, we want the Parliament of the Nigerian people, to take this issue very seriously.
No civilized country in the world where students in the university will be away from classroom for 5 months, not to talk of 8 months, not to talk of months more. So we are with you.
Ayub Bawaba describes as baseless reports that the protest was politically motivated.
Is it a serious issue? Does it call for action? Have NLC not mediated behind the scene? Have NLC not tried to resolve the issue? That is the issue. So basically, it's about diverting our attention. Nigerian workers cannot be divided. The attention cannot be diverted.
These nationwide protests today is to demand commitment from the federal government to resolve all lingering industrial disputes between it and all the university-based unions. Organized labor occupied various government buildings and marched through major roads in the state capitals across the north-central and northwestern states, agitating the 5-month-old strike action by ASUU and the failure of the federal government to meet the signed agreement. Speaking to journalists at the NLC Secretariat in Mina, the Vice Chairman of the Niger State Chapter, Bako Abdurrahman, says the negligence of the federal government is destroying the destiny of Nigeria's future leaders, as no nation can rise with a neglected educational system.
The last we heard from the nation, our president, was that enough is enough. But we are throwing back that enough is enough to him. Because ASUU, we have to be fair with ASUU and other affiliate unions of the universities. What they have done a lot for the educational sector. And what they are demanding, it is not for selfish interest. They are demanding better conditions. They are demanding better facilities in the university. There is no university that will function without facilities. You will end up bringing half-baked graduates. Is that what we want? No!
In Kwara State, the Nigerian Labour Congress and its affiliate unions also staged a peaceful protest in solidarity with the striking academic and non-academic staff unions of Nigerian universities. The protesters called on the federal government to attend to the needs of the university workers and allow the university system to run seamlessly.
We are going for 3 working strike action, 3 working day action, industrial action. After that, if nothing was done, then we move. We are going to do another NEC meeting to know the next line of action.
In Zamfara State, the protest was conducted amidst tight security With the Deputy Governor Hassan Nasir addressing members of the Congress, he expressed dismay over the recent increase in criminal activities across the country, noting that the strike contributed immensely. Members of the NLC in Kaduna State and affiliate unions, on their part, have promised to shut down the nation's economy in the coming days if the two-day warning strike does not yield positive results.
Feeling that our children have been abandoned for the last 6 months, which they are trying to make the government to know that Nigerians are worried. So for them to make this rally, I'm not saying anything bad about it. So it is good that Mr. President and also the minister should at least try to see how we can have a dialogue between we and
us. Working with electricity, medical and health, all have given ultimatum. If this action did not yield the result, we are going to do a national strike to shoot down the economy.
In Akure, the Ondo State capital, members of the unions marched through major streets, chanting solidarity songs. Armed with placards with various inscriptions, the organized labor frowned at the federal government's inability to meet ASUU's demands. They took the protest to the governor's office, where they were addressed by government officials.
What we want from the federal government is to come back to the negotiation table and sign the agreement that they have. If they have a problem with the agreement, they should return it and let us renegotiate it.
A federal investment is not an ASUU matter. I want to say it's a Nigerian matter. It's at the of Nigeria. We are talking of several generations of our children.
In Abeokuta, the protest was led by Emmanuel Bankole and supported by members of the National Association of Nigerian Students. They condemned the rate at which the federal government gives approval for the establishment of more private universities, while public universities are grossly underfunded.
This is going to be first of such series of action that will happen if the government fails to take action. Our affiliates are prepared to shut down this country if after this protest nothing is done.
In Ibadan, the labor unions took their rally to the governor's office at Agodi, where they were received by the deputy governor, Bayo Lawal, and other top government functionaries in the state.
We know we don't have a serious government. If after now they don't do it and we don't see the seriousness in them, you know what the labor centers can do. They fly around, they do everything. We shut down the airport, we shut down the banks, we shut down the electricity, we shut down water.
These are our children. We do not want them to be out of school for 5-6 months that they have been out of school. It's not helping the economy. It's not helping the students. It's not helping the parents.
The situation is not different in Osun State. In Oshubu, the organized labor marched from Ogoluwa to the State House of Assembly and the government secretariat, Abiri.
We don't want our children to stay at home any longer. We want the strike to end now. We want the government to see funding of our university as a priority.
I want to tell you categorically that we from the House of Assembly, we are with you. It is not possible for us to join you to protest, but within us, we are with you.
The protesters say the time for ASUU to resume is now.
The intensity of the sun notwithstanding, the Rivers State chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress joins their counterparts nationwide for this protest. They are out on the streets of Port Harcourt to add their voices to that of ASUU with the hope of getting the federal government to take necessary action for the strike to end.
We are dismayed by the federal government's paralysis and reluctance to take the necessary steps that could lead to the peaceful resolution of the issues in dispute and by extension end the strike.
The state government does not regulate the economy. I've looked at APIS, another thing that is being highlighted here. It is not also a state problem. So this is simply a message which I've come to the right channel to send. And I want to promise you that I will hand this letter over to the governor.
in Owerri. Organized labor also lamented the closure of universities for 5 months due to the dispute between ASUU and the federal government. Labor says due to the strike, Nigerian students are more vulnerable to antisocial vices, with thousands of workers plunged into hardship.
We want to plead with the federal government and state government to help us make sure that this problem is solved in no distant time.
I want to urge you to be patient. The federal government is working around the clock now to see that this matter is resolved.
The NLC in Edo State also led its affiliate unions on the solidarity protest. They are mounting pressure on government to end the strike and revitalize the education system.
Any nation that is serious about growth or the future of the nation must take into cognizance the need for the youths to be, seriously schooled.
Till today, our children are still at home, our brothers are at home, and our sisters are still at home. It's a shame. It's very shameful.
The protesters in Delta State appealed to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa to intervene in the stalemate between the striking lecturers and the federal government.
The insensitivity of this government, is degenerating every day, and if Labour does not, intervene into this issue, I want to tell you that we may end up, not having anything that has to do with tertiary institution in Nigeria.
We're all human beings, and as Nigerians, we are very good and good listeners. That this message will go up to Abuja. I know the government will do all they can to listen to us for this time.
In Enugu State, organized labor challenged the federal government to honor agreements reached with ASUU.
An agreement that is 13 years old running is still being contested by the same government. And if you go to our universities, it is an apology.
Our job, just as we have pointed out, is to continue to engage the federal government to ensure that there is a peaceful and amicable resolution of all the contending issues between federal government and ASUU.
Workers under the umbrella of the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) converged in the Ikeja area of Lagos for the protest to voice out their displeasure under the continued closure of public universities. The protest recorded large turnout of workers from the affiliate unions of NLC, which led to traffic gridlock in the state. There were several instructions written on the banners indicating the demands of the protesting workers.
Backwardness in the educational sector will be a thing of the past. Yes. But what do we see today? This is deterioration. And this administration has taken us backward for about 20 years before we can regain what we have lost.
The regime claimed that it was going to spend 443 billion naira on the so-called oil subsidy. The latest now is that the regime is saying it is going to be 6.5 trillion naira. Yet, there is no money for education. But there is money to pay smugglers who they claim are smuggling fuel out of Nigeria.
Nigeria, like we have been told, we are rich, we are buoyant. We can fund any education for all our people.
Yes.
It's only the greed of our oppressors in government that we cannot fund.
During the protest, I met with two 300-level students from the University of Lagos and Obafemi Awolowo University Ile-Ife, who participated in the demonstration. According to them, they can't wait to resume classes.
My school ID card have expired because I don't even know if I'm still a student or my school will issue another ID card for me after ASUU call off their strike. I just hope this strike will come to an end very soon.
Well, I say that when I wrote my JAMB, most of my colleagues that wrote with me the other time, most of them, even not all, they have gained admission. They have finished school, they have served, and they are working.
After more than 4 hours of protest held here in Lagos, Nigeria, workers before dispersed in the government house insist that if the federal government refuses to yield to the demands of the striking workers in 2 weeks, that it will be back for a mass rally, and also it will be inclusive of a warning strike. On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the General Secretary of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Emmanuel Ubuoja. He brought us up to speed on why it was necessary for the NLC to organize a mass protest across the country. He also said that there might be a possibility of a total strike if the federal government fails to yield to demands of the striking lecturers. It's good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me.
A lot has been happening in the labour sector, especially the issue of the mass protest that took place during the week, owing to the fact that we have the 4 striking unions under NLC. The NLC president has described the protest as a protest for NLC because it's NLC's business, and the students have been off classrooms for more than 5 months. How would you react to this?
No, clearly that's what it is. We have affiliates that have had a running, you won't call it battle, but a lack of action from government, a kind of paralysis that has seen government not respond appropriately to a simple challenge of industrial relations, wage fixing, and the need to have a place they need not be reminded to refertilize. So clearly, that was what it's been. We have tried every channel. We have done everything humanly possible to get government to respond appropriately to this, and nobody was interested in having this matter resolved. So we needed to bring it back to the front burner to have it sorted out, because for our children to be home, not schooling for over 5 months now, and with no clear certainty in sight that the issue was going to be resolved, it wasn't something we'll fold our hands and wait. The 4 unions in the university sector and other affiliates of ours in the tertiary education sector are all feeling the same pressure. Wage challenge, poor infrastructure and facilities, lack of teaching facilities and equipment to aid their work.
With your experience as a trade unionist, there's been this argument on who should be part of negotiation process, especially when a union is aggrieved. With your experience, would you say that we are towing the right line when it comes to negotiation? And how would you we know that government is continuum, but how would you react to agreements being signed and not being implemented vis-a-vis maybe the current economic situation that we find ourselves in?
Failure to honor agreements has nothing to do with the economic situation. It has to do with mindset. With all the money in the world, if you choose not to respect an agreement, you won't respect it. So some of the agreement don't have anything, or some of the issues don't have anything to do with monetary quantity specific. You have discussions on issue like a payment format or a payment platform, and you ask yourself, how can that be a challenge in a country that is talking about saving foreign exchange, in a country that is talking about encouraging backward integration, local content integration? It's almost comical and laughable that your ivory tower that you should challenge to help you conserve some of this, you are then querying their desire, you are querying their commitment to making soil production. They are the ones now forcing you to say, hey, we can do this. Let's use what we have driven. Then suddenly the story becomes, no worker can tell how the money can be paid. Nobody is telling you how the money can be paid. But if you have a structure that denies me what my wages are, It's not your right to deny me what my wages are.
All these striking unions in the tertiary institution, be it NASU, SANU, NAT, the story is the same, the experience is the same. They all don't want IPs as the payment platform. With your experience or with during the sharing time with this unionists, what has been your observation?
No, clearly IPs is not a celestial body. It wasn't conceived by a celestial body. People are trying to bring to fore the peculiar nature of their sector and say if you design a payment, the payment platform you use in paying workers in a factory can't be the same you use in paying workers in the university. The categorization of wages and wage structure or wage components in a manufacturing industry might not be the same in a non-manufacturing sector. For us, these are things that are resolvable within 2 days. These are things that shouldn't take 3 days to settle, talk less of 5 months. No, these are things you can't have that. You can't have that. How do you resolve issues when people won't be available at meetings? In private sector, the takeoff point for negotiation is to have certainty that you have a mandate to come and discuss. You don't come meetings for fun. You come to a meeting, an industrial relations resolution meeting with mandate. You come sure of what you are coming with. The union is coming with their people at the highest level. The union is not sending branch officers. The union is not sending middle level of. The union is sending at their highest level the president and general secretaries who will commit the union to the process. And then you send people who will report to another line of leadership, who will report to another line of leadership, before they will not tell you, we will even have to then talk with ministers, then let's know if we can go raise it with Mr. President or if we can take it to Federal Executive Council. You would see lack of seriousness.
We started experiencing this about probably 2 years ago. Whenever there's any negotiation, we always see governments ready to sit down to have a discussion, even though they might just appeal for them to go back to work and may not actually even implement the spirit of the Memorandum of Understanding.
It was even for the fun or for the sentiment of saying university lecturers, university unions are made up of very knowledgeable people, very technical people. That was what pushed government in the past to hire consultants, the Onoshades of this world, the Babalakins of this world, to say, hey, go talk with these people for us. You guys are coming from the private sector. You understand this notion of negotiation. This is our mandate. Take this mandate down. But now you go to meetings and you see assistant directors, you see regular line staff officers in a negotiation. It doesn't add up.
So does it mean that the government is not respecting any organ of labor?
Seriousness. It's showing lack of seriousness.
And students are the ones suffering.
They're the ones suffering it. You bring Minister of Labor when there is a dispute. The employer and the employee needs to have a conversation.
It's ASUU and the Ministry of Education.
Now if you then have a dispute, they have to then be guided, be propelled and smoothened out by the Ministry of Labor for them to have an understanding, not for Ministry of Labor to decide. It will still be between the employer and the employee. The Ministry of Labor cannot dictate resolution, but they will guide, they will advise, and they will then get you, they supervise you to that position. That is what it is.
So from Congress decision on NAC meeting, one of the resolutions is that after this mass protest that has happened, if the federal government refused to yield to the demands of the striking lecturers and non-academic staff, that there will be a 3 days warning strike. How would you respond to this?
That is the one they should be worried about. A 3 days national action by NLC is not a 5 months action by ASUU. ASUU, NASU, SANU, NAT are university sector. NLC covers the entire economy. So people should be interested in having this thing resolved, because our own operations are being challenged by the lack of resolution of this. We have children that are in school, that should be in school. We have our unions whose dues are not being paid because salaries are not being paid. So it's an issue of right. It's not just an interest. We're being trampled upon. So we're interested in having a result.
Moving forward, recently the Nigerian Labour Congress held its annual training for its members and staff of the Congress. And the theme of discourse is politics and also looking at the role of labor when it comes to nation building. Can you bring us up to speed what the response was? How prepared the Nigerian workers, especially as the 2023 election draws near?
Yeah, no, it's huge because over time it's an open thing. They say conscience is an open wound, only truth can heal it. It's out there, the jury is out there, the chicken has come home to roost because every effort by the working people to have things done rightly had fallen into the wrong hands of wrong leadership. So clearly, we know we can't stand aloof anymore. We know we can't be disinterested anymore. We know we can't watch TV or fetch water while election is going on. We now know that we must be part of it to put those that we know have conscience. All those people we know, none of them is in position of leadership. So how can we move forward? When our best are not out there servicing the nation from people who don't know what to do. So we feel we can be in a position to put people who will respect advice, who will respect suggestions. They say it openly. Nobody will carry his child to National Hospital and say, give me a Muslim doctor. No, they are not going to do that. So it's only in this direction that we've been fooling ourselves by allowing the dregs of society prance around and say they are national leaders. What type of leadership?
What can we say the working people of Nigeria want from the political class in terms of leadership?
We want a political class that will not launch an NMPC that cannot produce a liter of oil, that can't refine a liter of oil. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a national leadership that won't have our best being taken even to African countries, medical personnel, nurses, leaving Nigeria to go and work in Uganda, work in Kenya, work in South Africa. We're looking for a leadership that will have our hospitals functional so that people can come here. We're looking for a leadership that won't have our airlines folding up by the day. That's not, so we know we have worked this and we know what has killed our system. And it's time that we take leadership. And that is what we're determined to do.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.